Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Kesubos Tzadites. We are actually 13 lines from the top of the Amud. V'ika de Amri. Back to yesterday's Daf. We had a Shaila. You send somebody to do something for you. Sell your property. Sell just a small amount. He goes and he exaggerates on it. He sells double the amount. Question was, is it just an addition? Is he just supplementing? Or is it a complete transgression? He's overriding your instructions and everything is just null and void. So yesterday we had that Shaila. Now the Gemara comes back and says, look, V'ikad Amri. Others had a different version of this discussion. Well, in that case, there is no question to be asked. This is yesterday's case. Reuven sends Shimon, sell off a lesech. Lesech is 15 sa'ah, half a kur. A small measure, relatively small measure. I want you to sell off a small piece of property, v'zavan likura, and this fellow sold off a large amount, a kur. In this case, we don't say it's totally null and void. The lesach stands. Well, the part that he followed, the instructions that he fulfilled, that's okay. The vaday moisif al dvarav havi, the added, the extra part, is an hisaf. It's an addition to the first part, which is a valid sale. It's a full fulfillment of the instructions. So in that case, there's no question. In that case, of course, the first part stands. When indeed do we have a question? The other way around. He detracted, he deducted. The Amrle Zil, Reuven instructs Shimon, please go ahead, Zavan Likur, sell off a kur, a large measure of my property. V'azil v'zavan le'lischa, he went off and only sold half that amount. What would you say in this case? Me, Amrinan, shall we say, perhaps he did him a favor. Amar Leili, Shaliach tells the Mishaleach, the sender, the owner, the Tavalach, Abdilach, actually, I was trying to do you a favor. It's to your benefit that I sold just a small portion of your land, because now you have a chance to reevaluate whether you really need those extra funds, because if I sell the whole thing, it's too late to go back on the deal. Because if it turns out that I would sell the whole thing and you don't really need all that money, you couldn't go and retract and reverse the deal. That's why I decided to do it piecemeal. It's for your good. Please be patient. On the other hand, you can say, Amar Le, the seller, the property owner tells the Shaliach, I'm not interested. There should be an abundance, story of documents, a lavoy upon me. Everybody's walking around with a star, having bought property from me. It's not good for my reputation. It's not good for my credit rating that I'm selling off, properties in such numbers. So actually, it's to my detriment. I never asked you to do me any favors. Please, next time, Mr. Broker, follow instructions to the end. So which way is it? Does it stand or is it bottle? Amar Rabbi Chanina Misura, I'll bring you a raya. Toshma, we have a raya from a Mishnah in Mesechas Me'ilah. So just a quick refresher on the inyan of Me'ilah. So we learned yesterday that typically, if you make a shliach to do something wrong, to do an avera, the shliach is fully responsible. The mishaleach, the one who sent him, is totally absolved. You should have listened to Hashem and not to me. There's one exception amongst several, one of which is Me'ilah. You ask somebody to do something for you, which constitutes Me'ilah, abusing the Ma'as Hegdish, misusing Hegdish money. The Mishalech, the sender, is responsible, provided the fellow actually followed the instructions to the T. But if you tell him to do one thing, to spend the money on something, money which is Hegdish, and he went off and spent it on something else, that's his issue. He commits Me'ilah and not you. Tashma. Nosan dinar shel zahav. Reuven gives Shimon a dinar shel zahav, golden dinar, which Rashi says is worth 25 silver dinarim, which amount to 6 sela, each sela being 4 dinar shel kesef, 4 silver coins. V'amarle, he tells Shimon, look, take this gold coin, havali cholok, go to the garment store and purchase a robe with this money. Okay, so it's 6 slaim, which is the presumed price for the cholok. V'halach, so the agent goes ahead. V'hevile b'shalish cholok u'b'shalish talis. He says, look, why would I spend 6 selah for just a robe? 2 for the price of 1. Let me go split the money. Okay, I have an idea. I'm going to surprise him. Instead of just coming back home with a cholok, I'm going to bring him a cholok and a talis. I'll take half the money, use it for the cholok, half for the talis. So basically, he was asked to spend all the money on the cholok, and he decided to split it between the cholok and the talis. Shnei Amalu. What happens? Both individuals have committed me'ilah. Now, Rashi explains, here it's very similar to the case of selling property. I told you to sell a large property, you sold a small-sized property here as well. I told you to take the full amount, the whole dinar of zav, and spend it on a cholok, and you decided to take only half of that dinar and spend it on the cholok. What does the Mishnah say? We're both responsible, which means that the portion of the dinar which the shliach spent on the cholok is considered a fulfillment of his instructions, and therefore the mishalech is responsible upon the fulfillment of his instructions. This works well. It's fully understandable if you say that in the previous case, where it was a shliach, an agent selling my property, in this type of case where he decides to sell only half the amount, it is considered a fulfillment of the instruction of the shlichus. And the fact that he reorganized my transactions, he decided to do it piecemeal, it's considered a modification of my words, rather than a total disregard for my words. So it's considered as though my instructions were actually kept. That explains the halacha of me'ilah. That explains why, in this case as well, although he deviated, he only used half the money to buy the cholok. I asked him to get me a bigger cholok with all the money. And he comes home with only a small cholok that cost half the price. But nevertheless, it's considered as though he did fulfill my words, because somewhat he did fulfill. So that's why when he spent the hegdish money on my behalf, upon my word and my instruction, I have committed me'ilah. But if you say that when a fellow deviates in this manner, he detracts from my words, he's a ma'aver al dvarav. He's totally disregarding. He's just doing his own personal thing, not mine. I'm my mal, so why am I responsible for that? Answers the Gemara, you're mistaken in the way you understand the case. We're not speaking that he used half the money to buy a cholok which is, half the size and half the quality, which is like the half-size field instead of the full-size field. We are speaking that the cholok was on sale on that day. It was 50% off. So actually, I got the same product, the same quality, the same size as I expected for half the price. There's no question in this case. I am experiencing a full fulfillment of my words. I asked for a robe of this size, of this quality, which I had figured would cost the full amount of the 6 selah, the full dinar. Turns out I'm lucky. And the shliach was trying to help me. He figured, okay, he's expecting, a cholok which typically costs the full amount. I'm going to get him that same cholok plus a bonus, a talis, because they're 50% off. So for sure, in this case, there's no question that to a certain extent, the shliach was fulfilling my word, my instruction. He gave me the cholok I expected. So on that account, I am doing me'ilah because he did my shliachus, and it has nothing to do with our story, with the property. He deviated. He sold the wrong size. Okay, let's see inside. My skin, we're speaking the Aisile. The agent purchased for him Shavish Sheish, a garment which is typically worth 6. It goes for 6 on a regular day. Today it was 50% off. Bishalish, and therefore he only spent 3 sell instead of 6. But in reality, I got what I expected. And therefore, he did my shlichus, and I am the one who's responsible. If so, why does the Mishnah say the shliach also commits me'ilah? If he's doing my shlichus, the answer is very simple, atalas. Let's remember, he took the other 3 selah and spent it on a talis, a different type of garment. True, he was doing it for me, but I didn't instruct him to do that. He was doing that by his own volition, his own decision. So it's his act. It's his me'ilah. He is chay. He asks the Gemara if that's the case. That he delivered exactly what he expected from him in terms of the chaluk, size and shape and quality. Let's go to the next shita in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Rabbi Yehuda Omer af bazeh balabayis leimal. You meant to know that even in this type of case, the balabayis did nothing wrong, because he did not see any fulfillment of his wishes. Because he could complain to the agent, look, what'd you bring me? I was looking for a full-size, extra-large robe, and that's why I gave you 6 selah. What'd you bring me? You bring me this small, inferior robe? Oh, so apparently he did not get what he expected. Answers the Gemara, no. My ra. The word ra that Rabbi Yehuda refers to, we're not speaking actually small and inferior. Rabbi Damim. It's the same size, the same quality that he ordered. But the fact is, you only spent a small amount of money on it. Ultimately, you only spent 3 selah instead of 6, right? Well, you'll tell me, well, this is what you expected. This is what you had in mind. You're right. But you know what happens when you spend more money? You get better. I had this money, so to speak, set aside. Whatever I can get for that money, that's what I wanted. Don't make my decision for me. True, I only expected, a certain size, a certain quality, which is typically what you purchase, what you get with the 6 selah. But today things were going at a discount. Things were 50% off. I would have gotten a much better quality type of robe. And you should have spent the entire money on the robe. That's Rabbi Yehuda's angle. And therefor the balabais can complain to the shliach, you have not fulfilled my wishes, you did not complete my shlichus, I am patur. The Amarle, the buyer, the balabais, complains to the agent, if you would have brought me back a garment which would have really cost 6 today, meaning you would have spent the entire money, koshkein, even more, I would have gained even more. The havashavet tarti sri would have been worth 12, meaning every selah is 4, right? And what he's saying is that, if he would have spent the full 6, if you would have purchased something for the full 6, he gave him 6 to buy the chaluk. Had you have spent the entire money, today when things are at a 50% discount, certainly you would have bought me back a robe which would have been worth, on an ordinary day, market value 12, right? Because today's 50% off. And Rashi adds a twist. When you buy make a large purchase, you get an extra bonus. So you get more relative to the small purchase. True, you spent 3 for the chaluk, and you got something which was typically worth 6. You're right. But you actually caused me a loss, because had you have spent the entire 6 on the chaluk, you would have gotten back something which is worth more than 12 ordinary slime. Rashi says it would have been worth 12 jumbo slime. Because the more you buy, the greater the purchase, the bigger the volume, you got more bonus included. It's just the way it is. So, bottom line is, you caused me a loss. I lost out on that extra bonus opportunity. Rashi here says it about 10, 12 lines from the bottom. The Amarle, look at Rashi. Isisli b'shis kolshkein. Had you have followed instructions, not made your own, bargain decisions, I would have gained more. The marvachna tfei, I would have gained even more. This way, I only got double. I would have gained more than double. I would have gotten that extra bonus for bulk purchasing. The marvachna tfei da v'shav v'tayat yisrei shloim gedolim. Not only would it be worth double, because today everything is 50% off, I would have gotten back even more than double. Shloim gedolim. Shalokech harba biyachad, one who buys in bulk, one who makes a greater purchase, moizel gebei tfei, gets a better deal. Oh, so bottom line is, we're speaking that he actually got what he expected in terms of the original, his original plan. I wanted a certain type of style, a certain type of quality, and that's what I got. Typically it goes for 6, today it went for 3. So really I got the same thing. So the Balabayis committed Me'ilah, according to the Tanakam. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. But I lost out that extra bonus which comes when you buy bulk, when you buy harba biyachad, when you spend a lot of money, the merchant gives you an extra bonus. And that I lost out. And that's why I don't see it as a fulfillment of my wishes, a completion of my shlichus, and I am potter. Dekonami. In fact, this pshat that we are suggesting, that in fact he got exactly what he expected in terms of his original plan. The only problem is he can complain, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that he got the extra, add-ons. We're going to prove that in fact this pshat is correct. The Ketani, because the Mishnah continues. Although when it comes to the garment, Rabbi Yehuda absolves the Balabayis because he lost out on the deal. Rabbi Yehuda would agree big kitness when he went and sent him to buy beans. Sheshnei malu. Both are responsible. Why? Because unlike a robe, a garment, which doesn't have a set, absolute market value, it's sold by, sort of off-the-cuff rates. And, it is the general, practice to add and to bonus and to... When it comes to kitness beans, it's an absolute rate. A cup fill costs a prut, and that's it. There's no toying around with that. There are no bonuses. There are no deviations. So in that case, there's no complaint. Shakitness bisela. The same amount of kitness that I give you when you come to buy a sela, the kitness pruta would be the same amount I would give you if you buy just a pruta. Meaning, it's like a cup full of kitness cost a pruta. Whether you're coming to buy 1 cup full for a pruta, or you're coming to buy a multitude of cup fills for a sela. I don't add anything. There are no bonuses involved. In this case, the Balabayis did not really lose out on any bonus opportunities, and therefore he can't complain. So bottom line is, if let's say the kitness were being sold at 50% discount, and the shliach decided to spend only half my money on the kitness, but he brought me back exactly what I expected, that's it. So I did me'ilah because my shlichus was fulfilled. Shmamina. So in fact, this is a raya to our suggestion, to our pshat in the brisa. Says the Gemara, because what's going on here? What are we speaking about? Is it a place where they sell bishuma? They even sell beans by just rough estimation. Well, sela moizel gabeit face. Let's assume that if he makes a larger purchase, a seller worth of kitness, he gets an extra better deal. Amar Papa, no, ba'asra de kaili bikani. It's a place where they sell by container. A cup fill is worth such and such. Damarlei, so the shliach tells the balabayis, look, I didn't really cause you any extra losses. Kana of a pruta. Every cup fill is a pruta worth. There are no extra bonuses to be gotten. So this pretty much supports our pshat in the Mishnah. That apparently the balabayis got exactly, in terms of volume, in terms of quality, exactly what he expected. The thing is that the kitness or the garment was going for 50% discount today, and that's why the shliach decided, look, I'm going to be nice to my sender, and I'm only going to spend half the money and give him back and bring him exactly what he expected in terms of quality and quantity. The problem is that by the garment, Rabbi Yehuda contends that the balabais can complain. Look, had you have purchased bigger, you'd have gotten even more than money's worth. You got an extra bonus for making such a large purchase and have a complaint against you. I'm not doing Me'ilah. I'm not responsible. But that's unique to Talis, which is sold in this type of manner. But Kitnis, which has a set absolute rate, there are no bonuses to be gotten or to be lost, in which case, Baal Bayis should see his wishes as fulfilled, his shlichus as being carried out, in which case he committed Me'ilah. Toshma, we're going to bring a raya from our Mishnah back on Daf Tzadik Ches. In terms of our question, we had a shayla. Let's say you send somebody to sell off a large tract of land. He decides to do it piecemeal. Decides to do you a favor. Look, I'm going to give you, some time to think about it. Let me sell it one at a time. Is it considered a transgression, a violation of my instructions, or do we say, look, whatever he did rightfully, and it stands? Toshma hoysok subasa arba me'ezus. So the isha is in claim of 400 zuz for the ksuba. Arba me'ezus. So typically she would sell one large property for that amount. But she didn't do so. She did it incrementally. Machla zebemana, ola zebemana, ola achron, yafa mana bedina bemana. To Reuven, she sold a piece of land worth 100. Same to Shimon, same to Levi. The last fellow, he got an extra dinar worth. She sold 101, and she only got a mana. The Mishnah says, shal achron batal, the last deal is off because she undercharged. V'shal kulam nichron kaim, the other ones stand. The question is, why are we allowing her to sell them off like this? It's to the detriment of the Yisraelim to have so many documents, on their name, and it looks like they're desperate selling off their properties. It's not good for their reputation, for their credit rating. Typically, we shouldn't allow this. It's not something which we want to advocate, and not something which we should allow her to do on the Yisraelim's property. We stand for their interests. We protect their financial interests. So if in fact this is a concern, selling less than instructed is a concern because it generates multiple sales, which is no good for the seller, why is the Isha allowed to do it? Answers the Gemara, could the Amar Rav Shisha Breda Rav Iti, just as Rav Shisha will tell us later regarding another question. Bikatini was speaking about rather small, personal-sized tracts of land which are meant to be sold one per person. Nachanami Bikatini here as well was speaking about a unique case where they don't own this large properties, so inevitably she has to sell them off one at a time. Continues the Gemara. Okay, let's assume, regarding this question, that you asked him to sell a large amount and he sold a smaller amount. Let's assume it passes, it's okay. So assuming that, we have another question. Pshita, in the following case, it would be obvious. The halacha is clear. Amar le'echad. The seller, the owner, tells the agent, sell my base kur, my large property, to one person. So this time he clearly stipulates, I want just one customer to haggle with. Le'echad v'lo yishnayim. To one person, not to more. In this case, it's obvious. Ha'amar le'echad v'lo yishnayim. You got instructions. You could only sell it to one customer, not to two. And Taisus explains, even if it's one star, I'm not interested in dealing with so many people. So this case is obvious. But let's say Amrle, he tells him le'echad stama, sell it to a person. He doesn't say le'echad v'lo l'shnayim. He didn't stipulate to that extent. How do we interpret his words? Mai. What is the halacha in this case? Rav Huna Amar le'echad v'lo l'shnayim. He said what he said. He said what he meant. Sell it to one person. Rav Chisda, the Rabbi Rav Huna, the Amrit Havayah, they both say, well, if he would have meant specifically one and not two, he would have said one and not two. He said sell it to a person. That's just the way people speak. Le'echad v'afil l'shnayim, even to two people. Meaning he can split the karka and sell it to two people. Le'echad v'afil l'mei, even to 100 people. There's no concern. If he would have been particular, he would have expressed his wishes very clearly. Ikla Rav Nachman visited L'Sura, the town of Sura. Oil L'Gabei. So he got a visitor. Rav Chizda, the Rabbi Rav Huna, they came to visit him and presented him with this question. Amr Le'Kei Gavna Mai, what would be in this case? When a seller instructs an agent, sell it off to a person. Did he mean dafka one person? Amr Lu, he says, no, Le'echad Rafil L'Shnayim, Le'echad Rafil L'Meya. And perhaps this is where they got their shita from. The shita that I just mentioned a few minutes ago. Furthermore, they asked him, okay, Amr Le, what happened if the shliach, the agent, undercharged for that field? Does the sale stand or not? Amar Lahu, he says, no. The Torah shliach loy kamina. I wasn't referring to a toas. Of course, it doesn't work. They asked him, Mar, don't we know from a Mishnah, although when it comes to selling, objects and items, you're not allowed to undercharge. If you're a buyer, you can't underpay. When you're a seller, you can't overcharge. You're not allowed to cheat. But when it comes to karka is a undefined, fluctuating entity. Whatever you pay, it goes. So even if a shliach would undercharge, it should work if it's karka. Says Rav Nachman, that's a prerogative of its owner. He sells his house for less than market value. It's his business. But if the shliach does that mistake, the balbais can turn to him and say, "You're fired. I sent you to help me. Not to my detriment." So if he's off on the deal, if he undervalued, underestimated, undercharged, the sale is null and void. How do you know this distinction? The shani ben shliach balabais, it makes a difference whether he's a shliach or the balabais himself. So the shliach himself has less room for error than the balabais. How do you know that? This is not. Reuben tells his agent, I have a whole granary out there. Please do the truma from my farm. We know that there are different attitudes when it comes to truma. A generous person, would take off a 40th. A stingy fellow, a 60th. In between fellow, he would do a 50th. Now, he didn't tell the shliach what to do. He has to do some guesswork. What does he do? 40th, 50th, 60th? So he tells the shliach, Tzeyatroim, Toirim Kedalas Balabayis. He does it in accordance with how the Balabayis would do his truma. So he knows his Balabayis is a 1/40th type of fellow. You do that. You don't do it based on your personality, based on the Balabayis. It's his truma. Let's say that's unknown to him. He has no idea what the Balabayis does. So you go safe. You go in the middle. Average. A 50th. Let's say he didn't do the average. He took off a 10th, meaning he went to a 40th instead of a 50th, a 40th, which is actually more. Or he went up 10% to a 60th, which really means he took less, a 60th. That's within the margin of reasonable, movement, and as long as it's within between a 40th and a 60th, it stands. Okay, that's regarding the shliach, but not past that. You have no right to do your own thing. If it's within the realm of normalcy, it's considered okay. But look at the owner himself. Let's say he walks over to his tevel, separates something, and look what he finds. He discovers that he separated a 20th, which is huge, a 5th. It stands. You took a chance. You just took a quick swipe. That works even if it's a huge amount which you didn't expect. So clearly, a balabais is entitled to make mistakes, meaning it's his business, it's his truma. So even though he deviated, he took way more than he expected, it stands. But the shliach doesn't have that authority. Likewise, in our case, by selling karka, the owner can do what he wants. Of course, the sale stands even if he was cheated. But the shliach, look, you're doing it for me. I asked you to do it properly, and not to undercharge. Toshma. Here comes another raya. Back to our shaila. Let's say you ask somebody to sell a karka, and you said to one person, can he go sell it to two people? Toshma. Hoysuk subasa aramiyas. Back to that raya from the Mishnah. She was supposed to collect 400, and she sold off the properties one at a time. So Reuben got a mana worth of field, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda got a bit more than he was supposed to get. Shel achron batal, that sale is batal. V'shel kulan michron kaim, the other ones stand. The question is, well, if it is to the detriment of the seller to have so many documents and stories and legal activities surrounding his name, then here as well, we, the Bezdin, should stand in for the Yisayim. We should advocate, protect their financial interests. We shouldn't allow the Isha to sell off property after property separately to different people. Amar of Shisha. This is the terrace that we had before. Amar of Shisha Beidan Vidi. Biktini was speaking about where they simply own, small tracts of land, which must be sold in this manner. So it's unrelated to our question, where he had a large tract of land and wanted to sell at once to one person. So that question still stands. Continues the Mishnah. Shema Dayanim. So the Bezdin is getting involved in selling the fellow's assets to pay off his creditor, etc. So they evaluate, they estimate, and they made some sort of error, whether up or down. Shepichas ushtus, they undervalued it by a sixth of its real value. Oy hisif ushtus, so they added a sixth. Michron batel, it's null and void. So up to a sixth is still considered reasonable enough that the Bezdin has the authority to just go through on the deal, as opposed to a private person. The almana, she sells it just one off, 1 dinar or 2, it's batal. But the Bezdin has that extra power. After all, they're the Bezdin. But if it's a sixth, that's already too far gone, it's batal. Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer Michron Kayim, even if it's deviated by a sixth, we let the sale stand. You know why? It's a Bezdin. They're the leaders. They're the absolute authority in Cain, because otherwise, Ma Koyach Bezdin Yafa. In which way does Bezdin stand out in their authority? They were given the authority. They were authorized to carry out deals, even if there is some sort of deviation. This establishes them as the authority in Klal Yisrael. Avalam also Igeres Bekuris Beinei. Here comes a chiddush. Let's say they made an Igeres Bekuris, which is pretty much they announced an auction, a bidding, arrangement. An Igeres is a document. Bekuris, to come visit, to come inspect, and to auction and to bid. In this case, they opened it for the public. Afilu Machru Shava Mana b'Masayim. Even if they took something which was really worth 100, they sold it for 200. Or the opposite, a Shava Masayim b'Mana, something worth 200, and they only got 100 for it. Too bad. Michron Kaim, it stands because it was an open bid, and this is what we got. So it stands. Okay, let's recap today's daf. We started with a Shaila. So you asked somebody to sell a large piece of land, and he decided to sell it, incrementally, thinking he's doing you a favor to minimize your involvement and minimize your risk. The Gemara actually says he had his interest in mind. He says, look, this way I give you a chance to reconsider that sale. The question is whether it works or not. We thought we had a raya from the Me'ilah, but the Gemara said no. Me'ilah was actually a case where he got what he expected, because things were going at a discount on that day. We thought we had a raya from the Mishnah where the Isha can sell off properties one at a time, which is really less than she's supposed to do. We're speaking about small tracts, biktini, in which case it's not really relevant. That took us to the next question. In terms of semantics, I asked you to sell it to one person, not to two people. You have no right to do otherwise. But if he just says the word le'echad without elaborating, we have a machlokes, and according to Rav Chizda, Rabbi Rav Huna, it works, because otherwise I would have stipulated more clearly. Then we discussed the fact that his shliach doesn't have the wiggle room to deviate from his instructions. If he makes a tos, it's batal. We find that by selling the karka. And in terms of truma, if he goes past the parameter of 40 to 60, it doesn't work as well. Then we went back to the Mishnah where she sold off many properties. How does that work? Because they were meant to be sold individually, biktini. We went to the Mishnah that the dayanim sell off properties up to a sixth, certainly stands. If the mistake was a sixth or upwards, the mecher is batal. But if it was done by way of open bidding, either way it works. All the best to you, and Hatzlach Rav.